Today we're going to have a look at this Fluval Stratum setup that we did, because it's been quite a while. It's been roughly about 2 months since I last showed you this tank, and there's been a little bit of a change with it, and I thought I'd show you this tank today just to explain some stuff, because yeah, it's not what it was meant to be. Let's have a little look. Alright guys, this is the Fluval Stratum tank with an Asian style under gravel filter in the background. Let's basically go over how this was set up. I set this tank up on the 18th of the 1st this year, right? So it is exactly 2 months to the day since we set this tank up. Apart from the initial water that went into this tank, I did no water changes to this tank either, right? And you will see I actually have a lot of shrimp in here. This is because the tank next to it, my panda tank, sprung a leak, right, and I had to fix this. I've actually added a glass partition to the back. That is another video. We're going to do another Asian style filter tank with this, but all the shrimp that were in here and all the little bits and pieces that were in that tank are now in this tank here. The day before I added all these shrimp, I did check the parameters, right? It's very important. I wouldn't have added these shrimp to this tank if I hadn't checked them first. There was no ammonia that I could read, which was good, but there was no ammonia from the start anyway. Right, there was no nitrates at all, right, but there was some nitrates, so the tank is cycled. 2 months is plenty of time for a soft water bee shrimp tank to cycle. 6 months is the optimal time, in case you wanted to know guys, for a mature shrimp tank. So we added a bunch of the shrimp in here guys. I'm not kidding when I say there was probably 100 plus pandas went into this tank, and so far so good. None of them are dead. I can actually see the shrimp here at the front. I put some food in for them to come to the front, and they've just taken the whole food and went to the middle and hidden under all that stuff. You can probably just see it. Guys, this wasn't the video that it was meant to be. This wasn't how I was meant to show you this Fluval Stratum setup thing, but it is what it is. Stuff like this does happen in the shrimp room. One of the things I will say as well is I have checked the pH on this, and it was 5.5, which is pretty good. Now I'm not sure if Fluval Stratum is always 5.5, or is it because we put 4.5 litres of Fluval Stratum into the Asian under gravel filter. Does it make the filtration and the pH lower doing it that way? I'm not sure, but yeah, so far so good. So yeah, I would say it is a good soil. Guys, the real test will be in 6 months, a year, if it's managing to hold that pH, right? But what we're going to do right now is as well, because this is a follow-up video on the Fluval Stratum soil, I think I need to prove what the pH is on camera as well for you guys to see. So that's what we're going to do next. Alright guys, we have the Sarah pH test kit here. We need to add 4 drops to this little vial of 5 ml of aquarium water from that tank. Let's give this a little shake. 4 drops in we go, and this test is read instantly. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. The lid back on. Get our test away like this. Let's get the lid on, give this a little shake. While I'm giving it a little shake, I'm going to quickly dry the vial. And I can already see guys that it's like an orangey yellow colour, which is a good sign. Let's open up our little piece of paper with a colour chart on it. I wonder if you guys can actually see that from there. It might be a little bit difficult, right? I'm going to take the lid off. I'm going to try and put it next to some light so you guys can see yourself the readings. Let's have a little look. You tell me what you think it is in the comment section below, right? I think it's actually lowered a little bit. It's very hard for me to tell what you can see on the camera, but for me it's between this and this. I can tell when I pick it up there's a slight orange tinge to it. So I would say that it is between these two. 5.5 and 5, which is pretty decent for a soil. Let me see, can we lift it up a little bit more? It might be hard for you guys to tell exactly what it is, because sometimes when I look at things like this on camera it looks like it's yellow, but there's definitely orange in it, guys, and orange on here is 5. Right, so I would say it's between these two at least, which is a big thumbs up for Fluval Stratum. Whether this lasts though, that is the question, because we really need a soil to last for at least a year and a half to 2 years for it to be viable for our bee shrimp tanks. Alright guys, so I hope that answers your question if you've been looking for answers on Fluval Stratum. Is the soil any good? So far, fingers crossed, it seems to be a decent soil. As I said, we'll see in the future if it's going to definitely be a really good soil or not. I was a little bit wary with it not having any ammonia at all. Whether that's detrimental, I don't know. By the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned before my setup video, but I did ghost feed this tank at least once a week with some powdered food as well. So that's how we cycled it. Alright guys, before we go, let's do a quick fire Q&A with Fluval Stratum, because I know there will be a billion questions that you guys want to know that I haven't answered in this video, right? So what I've done is I've taken the most common asked questions off of Google search, and we'll see how it goes. If you have any more questions, please ask me in the comment section below and I'll help you if I can. Let's start off with the first one, and it is Fluval Stratum good for saltwater shrimp? And my answer would be yes. On the evidence that we have seen so far, I would say definitely yep. It can pull down the pH low enough that the bacteria count will be low and we'll have tons and tons of babies, etc. Right? So yeah, so far so good. I would say the soil is a good saltwater shrimp soil. Is it any good for Neocaridina? That is another story. I think it might pull down the pH down just a tad too much, right? But guys, if any of you guys are out there that are like aquascapers, for an example, there's nothing wrong with you putting some Fluval Stratum into a bag and putting it under some sand or gravel or something like that. If you want to fertilise the water a teeny bit, that's a good way to do it. The second question is, how thick should Fluval Stratum be? Right, if you didn't follow my setup that I did at the back there with the Asian under gravel filter, with shrimp guys in general, it doesn't really matter how thick the soil is, depending on what you're going to use it for, right? So if you have a planting tank, you generally want the soil to be thicker so you can have roots going into the soil and it'll be easier for you to plant and stuff, right? If it's just for shrimp, you can get away with bags of soil, you can get away with Asian style filters, you can get away with no soil in the bottom at all, right? But I don't like that way particularly. So in the one at the back that you saw today, I'll probably put a cupful of soil in the front as well. I don't like that bare bottom look. But in general, guys, if you're not doing the Asian style filter, I would go for probably, if you're in America, maybe an inch, 2 or 3 centimeters if you're in the UK or in Europe or anywhere else in the world that uses the metric system. Yeah, that is what it is. Right, the third question was, how long does it take for Fluval Stratum to settle? For me, guys, it settled very, very fast. I noticed when I was putting the water in that the water was super crystal clear. Now, I think the big issue with Fluval Stratum is that it's not always been made perfect, because from the reviews that I've seen, there was issues with cloudiness, with pH being too high and a lot of different things. So this might have been a manufacturing issue, which I think they have fixed. Question number 4 is, should Fluval Stratum be capped? Again, this just depends on your use. If it's for a shrimp tank, yeah, it doesn't matter what you do, but if you're using it for a planting tank, we covered this question before, it's basically the same answer. If you're going to put it into a tank where you want most of the substrate to be sand or gravel, put it into a bag. There's plenty of little bags online from Amazon, eBay, etc. that you can go and buy and put it under the soil, put it under your substrate, and it'll work perfectly. So there's your answer. Should it be capped, yes or no? It's up to you. Personal preference. And that leads on to the other question. A lot of these questions are quite similar. This is question number 5. It says, can you mix Fluval Stratum with sand? Right, you can, but sand is heavier than Fluval Stratum, so what will happen is all those little granules will fall through and all the Fluval Stratum will come to the top. In my opinion, it will look messy, so it's not something I would do. Question number 6, does Fluval Stratum cause ammonia spikes? No, it doesn't. I measured this the same day that we set up, and I measured it weeks and weeks later, and then I measured it today as well, and there is no ammonia present in Fluval Stratum, so it does not cause ammonia spikes. Question number 7, how long does Fluval Stratum last in a shrimp tank? Guys, that is a really good question because most shrimp soils will last anywhere between a year and a half to 2 years. So if Fluval Stratum lasts that long, it will be on a par with them, I would say. Question number 8, what pH does Fluval Stratum buffer to? Mine's buffered to 5.5. As I said, on previous reviews that I've done, or previous research that I've done into Fluval Stratum, it suggested to me that there was an issue with the buffering capacity of Fluval Stratum because there was great, I don't know, a great wide range of results I was seeing from different people. Like some people were saying it buffered the soil too much and other people were saying it didn't buffer the soil at all. And I think again that was a manufacturing issue that I think that they have fixed. So far all the recent reviews have been very good. And I would add mine onto that as well. So far so good. I think the soil is pretty decent. Question number 9. How much substrate do I need? That's a really good question. Guys, I would go with roughly 10 to 15% of the water volume of your tank as your substrate. Right, so if you have a tank that is, for example, 40 litres, or what is that in America? It's a 10 gallon. 10% of 40 is only 4 litres. Right, so you don't have to have loads and loads and loads. I would probably go 15-20% at the very most. Yeah, the more you add into the tank as well, the longer that the soil will last, but it's just an aesthetic thing as well. How much soil are you comfortable with putting in the first place? It's a good place to start is about 10 to 15%, I think. Question number 10, how long does it take for a soft water shrimp tank to cycle? In my experience, guys, I would say 2 months is the minimum. This is not just my experience, this is things I've been taught by professional shrimp breeders. 2 months is the minimum because, as we talked about before, because the water has a low pH, it takes longer for certain types of bacteria to colonize the tank when the water is so soft. Right, so you want to give it as long a time as possible. It's completely different for hard water shrimp. 2 months minimum, and then 6 months probably is the best time. This is when it'll be mature. So there is your answer. How long does it take to cycle a soft water shrimp tank? 2 to 6 months is my answer. So guys, I hope that answers some of your questions on Fluval Stratum. Is it any good for shrimp? We'll soon find out in the future. This is the first time I've used it and so far so good. If you have any questions on it, then please ask me in the comment section below. And guys, have an awesome day and I'll see you in the next one. Happy shrimp keeping.